Hello, minasan. It's Hisako. I hope you're having a wonderful day or evening wherever you are. Today's video is going to be a bit of a lengthy one, so bear with me, but due to popular request by several of my followers, I have finally gone through and done a revamped version of my entire makeup process when I do my Geisha Henshin makeup. So it is a little bit of a lengthy video, much like my kimono video. It is a process and it is not a quick and easy process. It takes time. But I wanted to redo the video that I previously had, if you look toward like the beginning of my channel, where I had actually done a full tutorial. I've since kind of upgraded some of the use of my products and styles and techniques I do for this makeup that I found work a little better. So I wanted to do an updated version of that tutorial to reflect that. So yes, it is a bit of a lengthy process, but this is my process for how I do my Henshin makeup. Again, as I've stated previously, traditionally geisha would use for their own makeup special products such as the special oshiroi powder that you use with water to like make a paste that you paint on and then pat in. They also have the special beni for their, it's like the lip color for their lips, their eyebrows, and their eyeshadow that they do, as well as special blush, powder, all of these things that are part of those special techniques. Because I live here in Houston, it's not as easy to obtain those products, as well as they are very pricey to purchase, including the shipping cost on that. So because I live here in the US, I wanted to find a way to be able to do this makeup routine to try and mimic the look of geisha's makeup as accurately as possible while using Western products that are a little less expensive and easier to obtain here in the US. So I do use a lot of Minarai products for my look, as well as a lot of different drugstore products to try and help make this reality, because it is a process. But again, this is just my process. I know other Henshin that have a different process that they use for their Henshin makeup as well. When you're doing Henshin here in the West, you kind of have to make the best with what you have. So that is what I've done with my makeup. So if you want to stay tuned for the next section, which again is a little lengthy, but it does show the entire process. Yes, I will walk you through my entire process for how I do my own Henshin makeup, and then you will be able to do it yourself if you're interested in pursuing it as well. So please stay tuned and we'll see you in the next slides over here. Thank you.
Okay, so we are starting with a completely makeup-free face, as well as my habutai is already on, so we are ready to start. First thing you want to make sure you do is you start with a clean face. Make sure you have washed your face and moisturized, as well as I've already put my contacts in, so I don't have to do that. We're going to start with primer first. So we're going to use this Minarai Velvet Finish Smoothing Primer. Very nice primer. Just open that up. A little bit goes a long way, so you do not need a lot of this primer, just a tiny little bit for each section. Literally just a tiny little dot. So I'm going to start with smoothing it on the eyes, and I'm going to eventually blend it on the rest of the face to make sure we have a smooth base, so that way the makeup applies a little bit smoother and lays a bit more flat, I guess, so to speak. And it's a very, very soft primer. It feels very nice on the skin. It works very well. And again, a little bit goes a long way, so you do not need a ton of this primer. Make sure we go ahead and put it all over the rest of the face here. We've done the eyes first. We're going to smooth it over the face, the nose, lips area. And also don't forget to do your neck and your, I guess, décolletage area as well, the upper part of the chest, since we are going to be applying makeup there as well. So make sure you add a little bit on those areas. And again, you only need a little bit. We'll also do the back of the neck and the upper back area, since these areas will be getting makeup as well. Okay, so once we've got our primer all done here, we're going to start out with the white makeup. So we're going to use the Minarai Clown White Face Paint. I really like this face paint. It's very thick, as you can see. I've used quite a bit of it there. And it stays in place really well. We're going to use this buffing brush from, yes, buffing foundation brush from Diosa, cheap brand that I like to use. But this works really well as we're going to use this pad to buff it in. It's a powder puff pad. So we're going to start with our buffing brush. This is going to be used to apply it. Just dip it in the face paint just like that. We want to make sure we load the brush up really well. And then once we have that done, we're going to use that to actually just apply it to the face. And I like to use kind of a stippling motion to apply that on. We are going to blend this out with the powder puff better in the next step, but this is just to apply it from the container onto your face. And again, I use a little bit of a stippling motion, but I like to start with the bottom of the face and work my way up. And it is sticky, so keep that in mind. Be careful not to touch it with your hands, but this works really well to get it applied to the face. Make sure we do the rest of the face, as well as the eye area. And again, this makeup is very thick. And I start with the first layer, and we're going to do a second layer after this, because it is thick, but you need more than one layer. So once we have that first layer done, we're going to come in with our powder puff and blend it in. So we're just going to tap, tap, tap all the way through the face. And this is going to help blend out the texture so it doesn't have that stippled look and you get more of a smooth look. This is very similar to how the geisha actually blend out their makeup with a powder puff. Don't forget around the eye area, since this makeup does tend to crease pretty bad in areas around the eyes and nose, so make sure that you blend those areas out as well. All right, now we're going to come in with our second layer so we get a little bit more of a thicker look. I like my makeup to be pretty opaque personally, but you could just stop at the one step if you want. It's personal preference, but I like to do 2 layers. So we'll stipple in the second layer just like we did for the first layer. And then we'll use the pad after this. And then come in with the pad and go ahead and blend out that second layer. And make sure to pay special attention to the eyes, nose, and lips areas where the makeup may possibly crease. Yep, don't forget the lips because we want those covered since we're going to be applying lipstick over those later. And make sure you get the eyes. Once the face is done, it may still crease around the eye area because it's wet, but don't worry about it. We will come back and do it later. Next, we're going to take the brush and we're going to start, I know it's a lot, I know. We're going to start on the neck and upper chest area. So same concept, we're going to stipple that in. And then we will take our powder puff and blend that out to get a smoother texture. I like to start with the front half of the neck and back, or I'm sorry, the front, and then work our way to the back of the neck and the back of the back. And then again, take your powder puff and blend that out so we get all of those stipple marks blend out to be very smooth. It is a process, but it looks so nice when it's done, I promise you. All right, and then we're gonna add our second layer again, same as we did the first. And then blend out the second layer. I think you've probably figured out the process of how this works now. It's put first layer, blend second layer. All right, and then we put our first layer here on the chest area. As you can see, in terms of how far down to bring the makeup, this is about as far as I bring it, since most of this is going to be covered up by the kimono, but you do want some of it kind of overextending just to make sure that as the kimono shifts, there's no actual skin showing through. So if you look here, this is about as far down as I bring the white makeup. And then we blend in with our powder puff again. Make sure to pay special attention to the bones area. And there we have the first half. So now we need to work on the back half. So take your stippling brush. You can leave the back of the neck bare as the Geisha and Maiko do, but I find that it's a little harder with this kind of makeup, so I just completely do it all white. So I skip the bare part on the neck personally, but you do not have to. You can leave that bare if you like. It's just a little more challenging to do. So make sure you take your mirror, as well as I have a mirror in front of me so I can actually see what I'm doing in the back here. So take your brush and we're gently going to go ahead and stipple this in, just like that. And again, I skipped the back of the neck, leaving it bare, but that is personal preference. Geisha in Kyoto would absolutely leave that bare. But if you're doing more of a Tokyo style geisha like I do, oftentimes this part is covered up. It tends to be personal preference. And then we're going to take our pad and blend that out again, just like we've been doing. And then we're gonna come in and do the bottom half here. It's a little hard to get because you can't extend your hands very far, but this is about as far down as I bring this. I make sure to bring the back of the neck down pretty far because the back of the collar of the kimono does extend down pretty far in the back, so you wanna make sure that's all covered. And again, same thing. Take your pad and blend out the makeup as best as you can. It is a little hard. And now we have all of the white makeup done on the front and the back. So we have completed that part. Yay! All right, so now we're gonna move on to blush. So we're going to use the Marin Clown Pink blush, or face paint rather, I use as a blush. You can use regular blush, but I do feel like it gets a little patchy. But make sure you do that after you powder. Do not do this before you powder. But if you're doing it with this, I like that better. I think it looks a little creamier. So we're going to take the Clown Pink face paint. We're going to take a second clean sponge. Don't use the first one. This is the one we use to blend it out. And make sure you blend out around the eye area and the nose area really well. Blend out any kind of creases before you start applying the blush. Just to maintain that really quick, since it does crease pretty bad, especially around the eye area like I've stated before. So take your puff that has the white makeup, use that to blend out the eyes. Take your clean sponge. We're gonna dip a little bit of it, just the corner, just to get a little bit, because this is very pigmented and we want to blend it out to be softer. So we're going to do the sides of the nose up toward the eyebrow area. So I start on the side of the nose by the eye, and I gently tap, 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 and start bringing it up toward the eyebrows and the area above the eye, as well as the side of the nose. It is really pink right now, but we are going to blend that out. That's why you want to use just a little bit, because it's very pigmented and we don't want the blush to be too dark. Otherwise it's too strong. So just blend out, and it'll blend with the white makeup to give it a softer look, just like that. And it will mute a little bit once we put the powder on. And I like to do a little bit around the under eye area just to give a whole look that sort of fades out into the rest of the face. That's just personal preference. You can do it in kind of whatever shape you want, but I like to kind of have that whole sort of blend with the bridge of the nose being very white. Just down the side of the nose. I go about halfway down the nose, not too far down. And just make sure to blend that out. Just like that. You can see that nice sharp line that goes up toward the eyebrow. I like to do a little bit into the temples as well. I've seen some geisha do this, some don't. It's personal preference, but I think it looks a little better for the face shape if you blend it out toward the temples. But again, personal preference. You can skip this step if you like, but I kind of think this looks a little bit better personally. And just make sure you blend it out really well. Otherwise it will be too dark, so make sure you blend it into the white makeup, and make sure you're paying attention to those creases. Just like that. And now we'll do the other side. Yes. And then once we've done the other side, we're ready to do the powder. So our blush is done. We're going to use the Marin Color Set powder. This is a translucent powder. As you can see, it's a loose powder. It is very messy. This is going to go everywhere, so make sure you're in an area that you are able to clean up. We're going to take a bigger powder puff I have, a fresh one that I use, and we're going to start with the eye area first, since again that creases quickly. Make sure you take your blush sponge again and blend around the eye area, just to make sure any of those creases are taken care of before we set it with the powder, because once we set it with the powder, we won't be able to go back and fix those. So I just like to double check and make sure I've got everything blended out. And now I take a little bit of powder on the edge of the buff puff. And then we're going to blend the eye area really quick, let me just fix this a little bit. I noticed there's a lot of creasing and I'm just very picky about it. So make sure that we blend all of that out really quick. And now we can go ahead and take our powder. And we're gonna start with the eyes. Be careful not to get it in your eye. This powder does irritate a little bit if it gets in your eye. So make sure we just really go heavy on the powder. You can never use too much powder for setting this makeup since it is a little bit of a greasy makeup. So we want to make sure that we're really setting this so it doesn't move. And we'll start with the eyes first since that is the most important area for me. And don't worry about it looks like the pink is fading away. We're going to brush the excess off. Also, make sure you get around the corners of the nose. I do find that my makeup tends to separate around those areas a lot since I have a little bit of an oily nose and eye area. So make sure that you set those. As well as don't forget the mouth and the corners of your mouth since I find there's some separation there as well. So make sure you do the lips and the sides of the mouth. And again, just go as heavy as you want. It's okay to use a lot of powder here. Just keep in mind, it is a little messy. As you can see, there is some powder going everywhere there. And make sure to hold your breath when doing this. Otherwise, you will breathe the powder in. I have definitely done that a few times. And don't forget, once we've done the face, we're going to start with the neck. And again, make sure before you start on the neck, you've blended out any creases before you start applying the powder on there. And same thing, we're gonna go through and just tap, tap, tap on the chest area with the powder because we wanna make sure we cover everything. Also, the back of the neck, use your mirror so you can easily see. And we're just going to blend out the powder there as well, working down the lower part of the back. So once we've done that, I like to touch my face just to make sure there's no spots where there's powder missing. Obviously, I feel a spot where there needs a little more powder. So if you feel a spot that still feels sticky, just apply some more powder and just touch it with your fingers to make sure there's no stickiness. Once that's done, as you can see, I am a mess, so we will change out of that at the end. But take your fluffy powder brush, we're gonna brush off the excess powder. So take this and just gently go through and actually dust off all of the excess powder. As you can see, that pink is starting to show through a little more now that we're removing the excess powder, so we have that nice soft blush. But this is just going to get rid of all that excess. As you can see, that's all kind of starting to come off here. Don't brush too hard or you will damage the makeup, just gentle, light brushing. And now we have our finished makeup look with the white makeup. And you can see the blush poking through so we get that nice defined face. We have the white on the center of the nose. So now that we finished the powdering, we can move on to the next step, which is eyebrows. So I'm going to start with this eyebrow pencil. This is the Maybelline Express Brow. It's a very thin brow pencil. I like to start with that, as well as you will need a slanted brush because we're going to use this for the powder, which we are going to do eyeshadow that I like to use for the powder. I have a red and a black eyeshadow that I like to use. Open this up so you can see the colors. Yeah, it's a cheap one from Amazon, but we have black and red. So you will need a black and red eyeshadow. So we're gonna start with our pencil, and I'm gonna do the top of the eyebrow here, just to kind of give a guide. I don't really have much eyebrows nowadays, so I just do that to kind of do my best to give a shape. So we're just gonna go through and we're going to line just the top. I like to do sort of a half moon shape on just the top of the eyebrow. The geisha usually use a special wax to blend out the eyebrows, so they remove them basically and then draw a new eyebrow, but I don't have much eyebrow, so I just use this and I just do my best with my natural brows. So now we're gonna work on the other one, and that's how it should look when you're done. Very snazzy. Okay, but wait, we're not done. We need to do the powder next. So we're gonna start with red. And we're just going to get a little bit on the brush. Make sure that you tap off the excess since it is a little powdery. Just like that. And we're going to take the red and we're going to come in from the bottom of the eyebrow and kind of go more straight out to connect this. This gives kind of a sort of bamboo leaf shape. That's the goal that we're going for. So we're going to take the red and blend it all the way out. And you may need to go in with a few swipes. I usually do 2 to 3 swipes to get the color a little darker, but it's personal preference. But we're just gonna go through and blend that out. And we will do the other brow after this, but as you can see, that's about the shape we're going for. And take your powder brush. You can use this powder brush as well, but I have a blush brush I like to use too. Blend off the excess, or dust off the excess. You do not want to use your fingers here, you will smudge it. So whenever you have loose powder, do not use your fingers, you will smudge it and streak it. Make sure you use a brush to gently buff away any loose powder fallout. And it should look like that. So now we will do the second eyebrow. And again, with the red, we're gonna come in and do that to get that bamboo leaf shape. And I do see a lot of geisha that do just red. They don't actually always blend out with a black eyeshadow. Personally, I like to do that because I like the gradient look myself, but it is personal preference. But you will be using the red either way. All right, now we're gonna come in with our black. I use the same brush that has the red. We're just gonna get a little bit of black. You don't need a lot, go light-handed on this. I'm gonna start toward the middle, and I'm gonna blend out toward the ends. I do like to leave it a little more red just in the center because I like that, or I'm sorry, the center of the face, the edge of the eyebrow, because I like to have it a little more gradient personally. But I do keep it pretty dark on the outside edge of the eyebrow. So we're just gonna blend that so that we get that nice kind of almost auburn look with it, as you can see. And again, it's personal preference if you want to do red or the black and the red, it's whatever you like, but I like doing the black because I think it looks a little more striking than just the red. And again, remember to take your powder brush or blush brush to buff off the excess. I use the end of the brush to kind of make sure the brows are centered, and they are. Okay, so now we need to work on the eyeshadow since our brows are done. So we're gonna take our red eyeshadow again. We're gonna use this bullet brush that I have, a little small brush. Make sure to use a small brush here, it's a little easier. And again, make sure you tap off the excess since there is a little bit of fallout on this. It's a good eyeshadow, but it is a little powdery. We're going to take this and we're gonna start at the bottom corner of the eye. And we're gonna go about halfway. You're just gonna do that outer corner. We're just gonna go back and forth and lightly line that. And then we're gonna go up a little bit and just do that outer corner of the eyelid. We're not gonna go too far in. We're just gonna accent it just like that. It should be sort of like a petal shape, I've been told. Think of it like a flower petal. And we're just gonna blend that out. And again, remember, take your powder brush to dust away the excess because there will be a little bit of fallout here if you're using a kind of powdery eyeshadow like I am. And then this is about what the shape should look like. Yes, make sure that you only do the outer corner. Do not go too far in. We want to go just the outer corner. And we're gonna start on the other side. And same thing, we're just going to start with the bottom area of the eye and work our way up toward the outer corner here to get that petal shape. And the geisha do red on their eyes because it's supposed to give the eyes sort of a slightly weepy look, which conveys emotion. But also, the red was to, back in the day, protect from evil spirits. So it's thought that the red with the eyebrows and the eyeshadow would protect you. And I like to come in with a smaller brush and get a little bit of the red and just do a little bit more just to get more of a defined look on those corners. But that's personal preference. I've seen some geisha do it softer, some like it more bold. I like it more bold personally. All right, so now we're gonna start with eyeliner since our eyeshadow's done. I'm gonna start with this Maybelline black pencil liner. And I'm gonna do the waterline. So I like to do this to get more of a defined and dramatic look. I start with my bottom waterline, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do the upper waterline. This is a completely optional step. You do not have to do this, but I think it gives the eyes a little more drama personally. So I like to do both of the upper and bottom waterlines. Ouch, that hurts. All right, so now we're gonna start with our liquid liner. I'm doing a Maybelline Tattoo Studio liner in black. This has like the little brush point pen, as you can see. I really like these eyeliners, whether I'm doing Henshin or non-Henshin makeup. They're just a really good eyeliner. So we're going to take this and we're going to start with the center and move our way out. You can do upper or lower with the cat eye, but it's personal preference. We'll go over that in a minute. But we're just going to start on that inner corner, and we're going to go ahead and line the upper eyelid here very gently. Be careful because if you open your eye, this is a wet eyeliner, so it will spread to the top of the eyelid. Do not open your eye too far until it's dry. And we're just going to bring that wingtip out. Again, you can do more up, more straight, or more tilted downward. It's personal preference. I like to go a bit more out to elongate the eyes a little bit. I do have hooded eyes, so I feel like if I do it too far up, it kind of gets lost in the hood. So I like to do it a little more further out personally, but it's personal preference. Just like that. And we're going to go through and do the other one really quick, just so we can match everything. And bringing that wingtip out just a little bit, so we get a nice elongated look. Yay! As you can see, the eyelashes are pretty white because of the powder. We don't want that, so we're going to need to use mascara. So I'm going to use this Maybelline Lash Sensational Mascara, one of my favorites. I've got this one in black. I like the brush on these, by the way. And we're going to go through and we're going to do the mascara. I just like to do the upper lashes. I don't usually do the lower lashes, but it's preference. I have seen Geisha do both, but primarily I feel like most just do the upper lashes. But you can do the lower lashes too if you like. It's just personal preference, but I personally like to just do the upper lashes. And I like to do about 1 to 2 coats on these. And as you can see, mascara versus no mascara, you can see it's a big difference. So definitely use mascara. Standing too long, my legs hurt, so I have to stretch them out. All right, we're gonna start with our lips now. We're moving along. So I'm going to use this lip brush to apply the lipstick. I'm using a Revlon Super Lustrous lipstick in shade 775 Super Red. I really like this shade for using the lips. So as you can see, this lipstick is pretty beat to Kingdom Come because I've used my lip brush so many times. But we use the lip brush that we kind of dip it into the lipstick. We're not going to use eyeliner for this. Or I'm sorry, lip liner. My bad, lip liner. We're not going to use lip liner. We're just going to go ahead and line with the lipstick. So I'm going to start with the bottom lips. And I'm just going to line this bottom lip area. I kind of stretch my lips out a little bit to make it a little easier. And we're going to underline the lips, by the way. You do not want to overline. If you have larger lips, you want to make sure to underline. If you have smaller lips, you may not even need to underline. It just depends on how big your lips are. But if you have smaller lips like me, you're not going to have to really underline that much since I already have tiny lips. But I do tend to underline a little bit here. Make sure you get up to the corner of the mouth, not too far into the corner because we want to give a smaller pout, but make sure that we stretch. And then take the lip color and spread it through the rest of the lip to fill out that bottom lip. And once we have that bottom lip filled out, there you go, that's our bottom lip. Now, if you're doing Maiko makeup, you do not need to do any more with your lips, you're done. So, but we're doing Geisha, so I need to do the upper lip. So we're going to take our brush again into the lipstick. And I'm going to do a super defined Cupid's bow. So I like to start in the center, stretch my lips, and I kind of do this V shape that I start with as a guide for where the lip should end. Again, I want a super harsh Cupid's bow because it gives a more doll-like pout and gives a smaller defined lip, which is more like what we're going for with this makeup. Once we have that V shape, I like to curve it up and out and go toward the edge of my lips, really keeping it close to the edge of the lip line or smaller than my lip line. And as we get to the corner, we're going to really come in toward the inside of the mouth because we want those corners to be very small. So once we've done that, we will go ahead and fill in the lips with the red lip color. And just make sure we blend out carefully. And then once your lips are done, we need to get rid of the excess. So we're going to take a tissue, fold it in half, and we're just going to gently bite. Be careful, but make sure you bite down. This gets off some of the excess lip color so it's not too gummy or sticky. You might need to bite a couple of times. Just like that. Bop. And now the last step, if you want, it's optional. You can use a setting spray. This is the MAC Fix-It setting spray. It's pretty good. I've actually used this before, but personally, I find the powder works just fine. I just make sure to touch it to make sure everything's dry. But again, it's personal preference. I find that I don't need the setting spray. But this is our finished geiko style makeup. So as you can see from the front and the back, this is our completed makeup. It takes time, but it's so worth it. But thank you everyone for watching the video. I hope this was helpful and that you enjoyed the process. I'm going to go get changed now since I am a mess. But thank you so much for watching. Arigatou gozaimashita. Take care.